turret basket ready to be released? Well, let's talk a little bit about it and show to you how the damage model is working on this new feature. Okay, so basically, guys, what they are doing is introducing a whole new module. We already talked about this for the Abrams and the Leopards, but this will be added for basically all MBTs apparently, right? So here we have for the Abrams, for example, a very complete model with the X-ray. And if you take a look on a normal Russian tank, for example, you will see that if we take a look on the electronics, so there you go, you will see that this would be the older turret model design. So it's a lot more complex, and of course because of that it is a lot more realistic. Obviously it is kind of sad and weird that they are adding just for these two tanks specifically, the Abrams and the Leopard 2, but still it is something that I hope at least they add for everybody if they're adding this thing, right? So for now, only for these two tanks. And this was kind of controversial because, I mean, it's a very big module, meaning that if you hit anything here, it would basically destroy the whole or disable the turret, basically, right? So it was a bigger target, meaning that it would be easier to disable a tank like the Abrams, like the Leopard 2. But they did change a little bit of how it is working. They talk about this, and now it is implemented properly. I don't know how many days it was already implemented, probably more than just today, but finally today I took my time to actually properly test this thing, and I really wanted to show to you guys. So how it is working now is that although you see a lot of the modules over here in the middle over here, the actual damage itself only can be done in some of the parts of the top of the turret over here, or the top of the basket, right, and below the basket, right? So in the middle here, these structural parts and everything, they don't do a lot of damage if you hit them. Okay, so I'm gonna show to you guys how this is working with the Abrams and then with the Leopard. So for example, here we have a hit round in the normal Abrams of the Abrams itself. It's a very small round, 105 of course, and you will see that although the fragmentation is hitting the top and bottom parts of the basket, it is not fully utilizing it. If you hit the top part of it, or I mean, this didn't even penetrate properly because it's a hit round, but if you hit properly the turret part that has the damage model, it will actually destroy the whole module, okay? Or if enough fragments of the round that you are shooting get there as well. So the bottom part as well, see, if it hits directly, it destroys the turret. And if it hits the top part, it will destroy the turret as well. But if you hit the middle, even though you are hitting like these modules and everything that it's here, I mean, sometimes you will, sometimes you're not. Probably here because of the thing, right? So it depends on where it hits, right? So for example, here, it didn't hit anything. Let's try to hit this part. See? Even though it is going through the that structural part that it's there, it is not fully utilizing or disabling the tank. And if you hit the bottom part or the top part of the basket, it will actually destroy. But like I said, it depends very much on the amount of fragmentation that we see hitting that thing as well. So for example, if you have enough fragmentation, even if you are hitting something else like the middle that doesn't have the damage model, if it has enough fragmentation hitting the top part or the bottom part, it will disable it. This will create two things. It will make it more realistic, obviously, because it's not really realistic to penetrate a tank like that, destroy a bunch of stuff inside the tank, and the tank keeps firing. That's unrealistic. That's the objective with this. It's unfortunate that the tanks that they chose are the ones that, I mean, the Leopard is okay, but the Abrams is a tank that a lot of people feel that it's suffering a little bit, right? So it's kind of unfortunate that they are adding for this tank, like, at first, but at least they are saying that they are gonna add for everybody else. But still, the idea here is that it is a little bit more realistic, because if you hit a tank in the middle like this, it will disable it. You know, if it has enough fragmentations going to the turret basket, it will make the tank not be able to shoot anymore. It will be able, I mean, maybe to shoot, but it will basically create a problem where the tank cannot traverse the turret, right? meaning that it will be a little bit easier to kill these tanks or disable it. The main objective, mainly, I have a feeling of what they talk about, is one of those shots that you basically shoot at the tank and it penetrates it and it destroys a bunch of stuff there, but it still managed to look at you and destroy you with one shot. So, for example, it's something that these bigger tanks had an advantage on compared to smaller tanks, right? Because smaller tanks are much more compact and they have a lot of modules closer together. And these things, they are very big, so they had the whole bunch of empty space in the tank for it to actually just avoid getting damaged, right? You can see that happening to the Leopard as well, right? So if you take a look on the turret drive, you can see that it is not only like we have a hydraulic pump. If you hit this, it will actually make sure that the turret is disabled, for example. The turret basket, it's a lot more complex, as you see. You have a different vertical aiming drive over here. So it's just a little bit more complex and it makes it up to be a little bit more realistic, okay? But if you take a look on the middle over here, you can see that these structural parts, although if you hit them enough, maybe they would jam the turret a little bit, but they don't have enough metal even to do that normally, right? So the fragments that will disable the turret basket will be onto the bottom part and on the top part, as well as the other little modules, right? So you can see this really well if you actually go for Gepard shot. So for example, let's get an APDS. It's a very small caliber shot for a tank, so 35 millimeters. If you shoot in the middle, not enough fragmentation to destroy anything. It will damage a little bit, you know, but it's going to be there. So see, for example, right in the structural part, it's just normal damage. It's not gonna destroy the whole turret. But if you shoot on the actual turret drive over there, it will disable it. As you see, it became black. So it disabled the turret ring. So you can see that, or it will do a lot of damage if it has penetration. Of course, it's a very small caliber, so it loses a lot of energy penetrating, but you get the idea, right? If you shoot the bottom part as well of the turret, see, it just straight one shot, it just, you know, completely destroys the turret basket, right? And if you shoot in the middle, if it has enough fragmentation, it will start to damage there, and eventually enough damage will get there because of the fragmentation. So for example, here it's an automatic gun, so you keep firing, it will eventually destroy, but you get the idea, right? You need enough damage to the top part or the bottom part. So although yes, it is a little bit more, you know, a little bit more damage that you can do to a turret basket or a turret wing from before, it is still, you know, a little bit more realistic as well. So it's kind of a compromise. So of course, at first they would just put everything that it's just doing damage. So if you hit these structural parts, it would basically destroy the turret, but it was too much. So people complained a little bit, rightfully, of course. And yeah, they fixed that with kind of an in-between. So if you have to damage the bottom or upper part of the turret basket to actually make it be disabled, okay? Which makes sense. It makes sense. For example, I hit the like little hydraulic pumps there, and it makes it up to be, or I don't know what type of the drive itself, right? The bottom part of the drive itself there, and it just destroys the turret basket, right? Which means that it cannot traverse the turret. But if you hit a structural part that it's minor damage and stuff, you need just to have a lot of damage on the bottom or upper part with the actual thing to make this thing to stop working, basically, right? Which is pretty cool, actually. It is a lot more realistic. I know, guys. I have a feeling, like, I feel for you guys that play, especially with the Abrams, but at least they are saying that this is going to come for the majority of the tanks, right? I think it's kind of unfortunate that they added, especially for the Abrams before, because those things are suffering depending on the BR. You have very low wing rates in certain BRs of the Abrams, right? So at the end of the day, I understand that some people got mad with that, but at the end of the day, if everybody's gonna get it, at least everybody will be realistic. The unfortunate part is that while the Abrams and the Leopard will be realistic for now, something like the T90 or T80, for example, the turret basket itself is still Very simple. Which means that it's very hard to destroy that part. Of course, you're not going to aim for that, but it means that less damage will be done if it penetrates around that area, right? Just at least, I mean, you can think about that. A lot of the ammunition is there already, so I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's not gonna be different for the T-80s, and like it's not gonna be a major advantage, because if you hit this already, the tank explodes in one shot anyway, you know. But you get the idea that every tank should have the proper modules if somebody is getting it. One tank that I really think should get this, although yes, I know this tank suffers, but it is the Challengers, of course. It has a lot of empty space, of course, and look at how simple it is, the turret ring right now. So of course, like I said, I mean, there are a lot of modules over here, but see how much empty space there are there. So let me just take the armor parts. Just for see, like a lot of modules over here, especially ammunition. But you get the idea that, for example, if you shoot it right here, there's nothing. There's a lot of empty space. So this is the objective, to minimize this empty space. Because if you penetrate this place in real life, it will make probably the turret get stuck, right? So it is just a little bit more realism, basically, to the tanks. Just, it's unfortunate that just 2 tanks are getting this. Hopefully, in the next couple of patches, we see every single MBT top tier and close to top tier getting this feature. Okay? So, hopefully I cleared some doubts up a little bit. I see you guys on the next one. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. And bye guys, see ya.